So thankful that you joined us today on the Word of Encouragement. And we are now in our fourth session looking at James chapter 4. We're doing that because this weekend we're having a prayer summit at our church, Saturday for 4 hours, Sunday for 4 hours. And we've given a booklet to our people going through James 4 and then other verses that really can be useful, open our hearts to the Lord to prepare us to pray with real power. And we've looked at the problem of self. We've seen the problem of Satan's world. We've seen the need for us to be humble and not proud and just be open with God and get back into that right relationship with the Lord. That is so key if we're going to see God work. And then it gets back to the relationship issue again in verse 11. Speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. There's a lot in this verse, but let me just give the basic here. Chapter 3 deals with the great danger of the tongue. Evidently, this was a key problem in that early church, and it's a problem in churches today. That causes relationship problems, all of these different things that we've talked about. But again, so that there can be spiritual life, James here mentions under inspiration, don't speak evil of another brother. Because if you speak evil of another brother, you have placed yourself in a superior position as God, as though you're the law. And that's the very opposite of what was just talked about. We're to humble ourselves. God resisteth the proud. If we humble ourselves, he'll be the one to lift us up. We don't lift ourselves up by putting someone else down. Now, let's face it, that's a natural inclination of the flesh. The flesh wants to promote itself, to advance itself, to make itself something. But if we do that and depend on ourselves, we lose that fellowship with God. We just lose so much of what God could do through our lives. And if we come into an assembly and we've been talking negatively about the brethren, and we have really not been right or biblical and have not dealt with that, there's not going to be power there. You read the accounts of revival throughout history many, many times, such as the Shantung revival, many other revivals, when people got right with one another and admitted their backbiting, admitted their jealous talk, all of those kind of things, all of a sudden God began to break loose. You can see it just in every level throughout history. And so this is the revival chapter. We need to be reminded, as verse 12 says, there is one lawgiver. He's the one that knows, who is able to save and to destroy. Who art thou that judgest another? We're not God. Who do we think we are? And we're certainly not going to come in submission to God with humility for God to work and give us grace and to be able to know his will and to come through with real convincement in prayer if we have unresolved talk. And a lot of that can be right within a family, right between a mom and a dad and children and their parents and vice versa. It can be with very close people, or it can be within the church family or people outside. But whatever it is, we need to realize that the Bible's very clear here. Speak not evil of another brother. The only time that it is not wrong is if we are with the right heart, talking to the right person who's part of the solution, biblically, or part of the problem. Otherwise, when we talk negatively about someone, that needs to be gotten right. Honestly, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that holds back the blessing of God. That's why I believe that God led James to write chapter 3 on the tongue and the many references in chapter 4, because this early church, if they were going to see a movement of God across the known world, they had to have the right kind of heart. And so I do want to encourage us to take this admonition and just let God work in our heart. And let's love one another. And let's come ready to pray because our hearts are right with our brothers and sisters.